The drought was Panama's worst in over 70 years. But how does a 50-mile-long waterway connected by two oceans run low on water? Gatun Lake, built in large part by the U.S. in the early 1900s, sits on a mountain range at the center of the canal. It supplies fresh water to operate the canal's 4 sets of locks. The problem, water levels at Gatun Lake fell 8 feet below average.
One of the things that people did not realize is that the Panama Canal operates on fresh water. And then we are rainfall dependent.
How does the water level impact the business of the Panama Canal when it's too low?
If levels are too low, then ships cannot load as much cargo, so they will not run business as usual.
During the drought, it was necessary for vessels to be a lot lighter in order to traverse the canal. And one way that the companies did this was to offload containers. Companies like Maersk use the land bridge, and that is directly behind me. To prepare for future droughts, the Panama Canal Authority plans to spend $1.6 billion and build a new reservoir that would hold 1.2 billion cubic meters of water. But the proposed Rio Indio project is facing resistance. The new reservoir would be built by flooding 17 square miles of land, impacting an estimated 2,500 people. Olegario Hernandez's village will be at the bottom of the reservoir if the plan moves forward.
They said it's going to rise 100 meters high. I don't want to leave because my land is enough for me to support myself. I can't support myself there.
To get a first-hand look at how droughts are impacting the Panama Canal, the challenges canal operators face, and the people impacted, CNBC boarded a tugboat and a motorized canoe in Panama.
That's the sound of a whistle.
That's 3. What does that mean?
That means 3 whistles back. Now he's pulling back the ship in order to brake.
Instead of making the 21-day trip around the tip of South America, about 14,000 ships take the 10-hour journey across the Panama Canal annually. The U.S. uses the canal more than any other nation. About 71% of cargo traversing the canal originates or is destined for the U.S. But crossing the Panama Canal is a challenging task requiring precision on the part of sailors, rope handlers, engineers, and pilots. It also requires favorable winds and a lot of water.
When you're inside the chambers, you're a very reduced space. If I don't pull him fast enough, he can touch the other side of the locks.
What's the biggest challenge that you faced on the water?
The biggest challenge here is the wind. A large vessel can be moved by the wind.
But water, or the lack of water, might be an even bigger issue. The Panama Canal uses a system of 12 locks arranged in sets of 3, which act as water elevators. A significant amount of fresh water used to operate the locks comes from Gatun Lake, which sits 85 feet above sea level.
Every time we do a lockages, since we have to open the gates or let a ship go up to the ocean, we let go close to more than 50 million gallons of water to the ocean.
We use about 2.5 times the amount of water a city of the size of New York uses every single day.
Droughts, generally caused by El Niño weather patterns, exacerbate the problem. Panama has experienced a number of droughts in recent years. Less water means restrictions on cargo and ships.
When the drought hits, then the lake levels start going down because there's no more rain to supply the water. Whenever we go below 85 feet of elevation, we have to restrict draft.
Restricting draft means limiting how deep a vessel can sit in water. When you have to lower the draft by, say, 3 feet, how many pounds do the ocean carriers need to lighten the load in order to meet that draft?
For every feet that we restrict one of these big container ships, it's close to between 300 and 500 containers that they cannot put through.
The last drought to hit Panama began in late 2022. By January 2024, it was one of the worst in the canal's history, creating bottlenecks as vessels were turned away in an effort to conserve water. Canal vessel transits in 2024 fell 29% compared to the prior year. LNG vessels and bulk carriers which carry U.S. grain were hit the hardest. LNG vessel transits were down 65%, and dry bulk transits were down 107%. Without a solution, drought conditions could limit the canal's capacity by 50% by 2050, having devastating consequences for U.S. commerce.
We used to get an El Nino probably every 7 years. Now every 3 to 4 years that we're getting an El Nino now.
Dedicated teams at the Panama Canal Authority track and monitor water levels. To get a first-hand look at their work, we took a boat trip with meteorologist Gloria Rocha Paz.
Lake Gatun is so large that you could fit the equivalent of 2 million Olympic-sized swimming pools. You can see the level of the lake against the ruler. That's like your true measure. And then we have a sensor that transmits the data almost real time. This lake, we measure 3 points because it's a large lake, and you have to measure the elevation at different points to have an idea of the average elevation. And then with that you can calculate volume.
Those measurements are critical. Not only is the waterway an essential artery for transporting goods from Asia to the U.S. and back, it also provides drinking water for about half of Panama's 4.5 million people.
Our farm is just like any other farm. It's volatile.
Western and other farmers like him are also concerned tariffs will drive up costs. Current rates will mean higher prices for items ranging from fertilizers to farm equipment to tractors. But across America's heartland, a different story is unfolding. Indiana shrimp farmers Carolina and Daryl Brown view tariffs as a blessing.
Oh, they're fabulous. As soon as we heard they were going into effect, I was excited, not just for my shrimp, but for the shrimp boaters and everybody out there who's also trying to harvest shrimp in, because they can't compete with a $7 a pound shrimp.
Over 90% of all shrimp eaten in the U.S. is imported, with most coming from India. A whopping 1.6 billion pounds of shrimp, worth more than $6 billion, is imported annually. Two industries, two different fights, but both are caught in the crosshairs of global trade policy and the high-stakes gamble of tariffs. So what impact will Trump's trade war have on American farmers?
We do this for the legacy of the farm, and so it's a labor of love.
Todd Western III is a sixth-generation farmer who grows corn and soybeans across more than 200 acres of land on two separate farms.
Our farm was established in 1864. They traveled their way out of slavery and settled in Iowa.
Soybeans, a key source of livestock feed, is planted in the spring, with harvest taking place in October.
So these pods are going to have soybeans in them. The goal is to have as many beans in there as possible. That's what we'll harvest when the combine comes through here.
But despite a strong planting season, the price of soybeans nationally has taken a hit. One factor, due to the ongoing trade dispute, the Chinese government has instructed its importers to avoid purchasing U.S. soybeans.
Our major export commodity, our number one agricultural commodity, is soybeans.
China imports an average of 61% of the world's traded soybeans, including over a fifth of U.S. exports.
At this time of year, typically China is purchasing for delivery in the fall. They haven't done that yet, and so there's a lot of concern in farm country about whether or not those exports will materialize.
The crop was also targeted in previous trade disputes with China. In 2018, China imposed retaliatory tariffs on soybeans. That dispute cost U.S. agriculture $27 billion, with soybeans accounting for 71% of those annualized losses.
I love the farmers. They're a very important part of this country. And we're not going to do anything to hurt the farmers, and we're working on that, and we're going to be coming out with rules and regulations.
One beneficiary of the U.S.-China dispute could be Brazil. In 2017, Brazil surpassed the U.S. as the world's largest soybean producer and exporter, thanks in part to lower production costs.
Brazil is a strong competitor. They have